Hello, student friends. Today we will start with the uh, new chapter. This is the era of one-party dominance. In this chapter, what we will try to understand is that what are the factors which are responsible for the Congress dominance in the first three general election, and we will also try to understand that the journey of democracy in India in post-independence period, basically. So let us in a very brief try to understand that how India successfully installed parliamentary democracy. In order to understand this, let us in a very brief try to understand that a little background of this. So as already we know that the Constituent Assembly, which is the body behind the journey of Indian democracy, parliamentary democracy. But yes, the demand for this Constituent Assembly was first raised by M.N. Roy in 1934. And later in 1935, Indian National Congress, they officially demanded the Constituent Assembly. And later the British the government, they accepted that particular demand for Constituent Assembly. Yes, in 1946, when the Cabinet Mission Plan arrived in India, so under the Cabinet Mission Plan, basically, a Constituent Assembly was formed, which was founded on 9th of December 1946. So this Constituent Assembly, which constituted of 389 members, out of that 389 members, 292 members were from British provinces, basically. So the Provincial Legislative Assembly, which elected these 292 members. Then 93 members were from the British princely states, basically. That is, appointed person, basically. The princely rulers, basically, they appointed those 93 members. And the rest 4 members were from the basically the commissioner provinces. Basically, the commissioner at that point of 4 commissioner provinces were there. That is Delhi, Ajmer, Coorg, C-O-O-R-G, Coorg. Coorg, actually, it was later renamed as Mysore, and subsequently known as Karnataka, the current Karnataka. And fourthly, it was the British Balochistan. So these 4 were known as the commissioner provinces, basically. So the 4 members were from the provisional provinces, and 93 members were from the British princely states, and the 93 members from the princely states, and 292 members were from the British provinces, basically. So the Constituent Assembly was formed, and out of that Constituent Assembly, what happened, we know that the president of the Constituent Assembly was Rajendra Prasad. Now a drafting committee was formed later out of that particular Constituent Assembly with 7 members headed by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and that drafting committee was given the responsibility to draft a constitution for the country. So the drafting committee was formed in order to draft a constitution for the country, and already we know that by 26th of November 1949 the drafting committee, they completed the draft of constitution, and by 26th of January 1950 the constitution was formally enacted or enforced in our country. Now in that particular constitution there is a provision of election commission that is mentioned in the Article 324, and Article 326 deals with the universal adult franchise. And so earlier it was 21 year initially. By 61st Amendment Act of 1989, later it was lowered from 21 to 18 years. That already we came to know in the class 11. So as I said, that this election commission was given the responsibility to conduct the election. So in the constitution there is a provision of election commission, basically. So that particular election commission was given the responsibility to conduct the election for the country. So in this way, what happened from the British rule and that particular the forming of the Constituent Assembly And then later, the drafting of a constitution in that particular period, especially from 1946 to 49, this is the period in which the Constituent Assembly was in charge of look after the country. So that Constituent Assembly was in charge till the first election was conducted at that point of time in 1952. That we'll come to know. So in 1950, the Election Commission was formally set up, and Sukumar Sen became the first Chief Election Commissioner. So in 1950, the Election Commission was set up, and Election Commission was given the responsibility to conduct the election, or in other words, we can say that to establish the democratic values, establish the democracy and parliamentary democracy in our country. But Election Commission had faced some genuine problem at that point of time in conducting the election. So let us in a very brief try to understand that what are the problems or challenges that Election Commission had faced at that point of time. So number one challenge that the Election Commission had faced that to conduct the election in such a huge populous country. So it was estimated that around 18 crores voters were there, and this was for the first time election was conducting in such a populous country. So this is the first challenges that Election Commission had faced at that point of time to conduct the election in such a huge populous country. Number two that the Election Commission had faced at that point of time is that majority of the voters were illiterate at that point of time, and it was a huge challenging task on the part of the Election Commission to make the people aware regarding the election, regarding the democracy, regarding the parliament, regarding the how to cast the vote, regarding the system of the election, regarding the method, regarding the procedure. Everything had to be disseminated to the common people, as most of them had no knowledge about the election. And as I said, that majority of the people were illiterate, they had no knowledge about the formal democratic structure at that point of time. Thirdly, another problem that Election Commission had faced is in order to delimit the constituencies, or in other words, we can say that to divide the country into small geographical location, because of the diverse nature of the country, because we are diverse in terms of language, in terms of culture, in terms of religion, in terms of ethnicity, in terms of caste. So many of this diversity, out of many of this diversity, it was a challenging task because the diversity is scattered all throughout the country, and it was a great challenge on the part of the Election Commission to divide the country, or in other words we can say that to delimit the constituencies. मतलब constituencies को मतलब एक constituency बनाना खड़ा करना बड़ा प्रॉब्लम था, क्योंकि बहुत सारा चैलेंजेस देखा गया, क्योंकि जब कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी बनाया गया तो इस कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी के लोग बोलते हैं कि नहीं हमें इस हमें उस कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी में रहना है, क्योंकि हमें उस कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी में हमारे लैंग्वेज के लोग ज़्यादा है. तो इस तरह से बहुत सारे प्रॉब्लम उस समय इलेक्शन कमीशन को देखना पड़ा. Fourthly, another challenge that the Election Commission had faced at that point of time is basically because in preparing the electoral roll, basically, or the voter list. In preparing the electoral roll, another major challenge that the Election Commission had faced. Why? Because at that point of time, when the Election Commission they prepared the first electoral roll, so they came to know that most of the women's name were missing in that Election Commission or in the voter list. Why? Because the woman's name were missing. It was written as wife of, it was written as daughter of. Instead of their name, it was written as wife of, daughter of. तो ये बड़ा प्रॉब्लम था. वुमेंस का नाम ही नहीं आया. सपोज किसी वुमेन का नाम है मिस जेड, अब उसकी जगह पर मिस जेड की जगह पर क्या लिख दिया गया कि डॉटर ऑफ मिस्टर एम. तो अब बच्चे का नाम ही नहीं है. तो ये एक बड़ा प्रॉब्लम था, क्योंकि आदमी का नाम ही नहीं है उसमें. So another problem that Election Commission had faced at that point of time is preparing electoral roll, because a huge number of women's names were missing at that point of time. It was written as wife of, daughter of. So again, Election Commission, they had to cancel the electoral roll. They had to prepare another electoral roll. So this is a major challenging task at that point of time. Next problem the Election Commission had faced at that point of time is that to recruit the officials to conduct the election. Because Election Commission, it was newly set up in 1950, and they had no official team to conduct the election. So they had to recruit the people from different department, like suppose for education department, from irrigation department, from finance department, from different department. They had to recruit the people. Not only recruit the people, they had to train those people or those officers regarding the method of election, regarding the procedure of election. So this was a major challenging task. Why? Because the officials of the different departments, they also had no knowledge about the election. So election commission had to train those officials, and it was a huge task to train such a huge number of officials at that point of time. Sixthly, another major challenges that election commission had faced at that point of time was कि the election commission had to conduct the election for both member of parliament, that is Lok Sabha, as well as they had to conduct the election for the state legislative assembly. It was estimated that around 18 crores voters were there, and 3,200 MLAs and 489 MPs to be elected by such 18 crore voter. So दो इलेक्शन कंडक्ट कराना था, एक तो लोकसभा का इलेक्शन मतलब पूरा देश का इलेक्शन, और एक स्टेट, हर एक स्टेट का अलग अलग इलेक्शन. तो ये एक बड़ा प्रॉब्लम था क्योंकि ये बहुत हेवी टास्क था, एक साथ दोनों इलेक्शन, वो भी एक नया बॉडी के लिए, which was recently set up in 1950. So this is another major challenge that the election commission had faced at that point of time. And lastly, the election commission also had to make the people aware regarding the system of election, that is the FPTP, first past the post, and also the method or the procedure through which the public opinion to be collected. So at that point of time, this ballot paper system are introduced. So ballot paper system क्या है, बैलेट पेपर सिस्टम समझाना पड़ा लोगों को. उसके साथ साथ ये FPTP सिस्टम क्या है, क्योंकि लोगों को पता ही नहीं था. मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द पीपल दे हैड नो नॉलेज अबाउट द फॉर्मल डेमोक्रेसी. सो एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम the election commission, they had faced some severe challenges at that point of time. So these are some of the major challenges that election commission had faced at that point of time. But yes, election commission, they successfully conduct the election at that point of time. So by 1951 October 1951 election, the first phase of the election was conducted throughout the country, but it was in few places only the election was held. Most part of the country, they went on election only in the 1952, and this is the reason that it is called the 1952 general election basically. So this is why it is called the 1952 general election. So as I said that it was set up in 1950. So within this 1.5 year, the election commission, they successfully conducted the election for the whole country, and in this way the parliamentary democracy was installed in our country. So this is what, in a very brief, how the journey of democracy, basically the journey of this democracy started during the British era, and it got a real shape under the Constituent Assembly. And finally in 1952 the election was conducted in our country, and with the existence of the parliamentary democracy, or with the existence of the Lok Sabha, the earlier, that is the Constituent Assembly, it ceased to exist. वो नॉन फंक्शनल हो गया, और जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूंट असेंबली जो था वो नॉन फंक्शनल हो गया. अब सारा पावर पार्लियामेंट का मेंबर के पास आ गया था, लोकसभा के पास आ गया था. सो इन बिटवीन 1946 टू 1951 ये जो फेज़ था बेसिकली, इस फेज़ में जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूंट असेंबली जो बनाया गया था, इट इज़ बेसिकली कॉल्ड एज इंटरिम गवर्नमेंट, वही एग्जैक्टली मतलब देश चला रहा था एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम. और उसमें एक इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ क्या है कि वो जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूंट असेंबली था, उसमें जो आउट ऑफ द 389 मेंबर जो मैंने कहा था आपको, उसमें आउट ऑफ 389 मेंबर 208 मेंबर्स वर फ्रॉम द इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस, एंड 73 मेंबर्स वर फ्रॉम द ऑल इंडिया मुस्लिम लीग, जो बाद में उन्होंने दूसरा स्टेट का डिमांड कर दिया, पाकिस्तान का डिमांड कर दिया, वो हट गए बेसिकली. और 93 मेंबर जो थे, ऑलरेडी मैंने कहा वो लोग कहाँ से थे, this 208 members, basically 208 members were from the Indian National Congress, और 73 मेंबर जो थे बेसिकली दे आर फ्रॉम द मुस्लिम लीग, ऑल इंडिया मुस्लिम लीग, और 93 मेंबर जो है वो प्रिंसली स्टेट्स के थे, और बाकी जो मेंबर्स थे वो अलग अलग पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज के थे, कुछ इंडिपेंडेंट भी थे बेसिकली. सो दिस इज व्हाट इज इन अ वेरी ब्रीफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट ऑफ द दिस कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली, बेसिकली द कंपोजिशन ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली. और उस पर्टिकुलर पीरियड में हाउ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली दे फेस्ड दिस पर्टिकुलर क्राइसिस एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम, एंड द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी वाज गिवन टू द ड्राफ्टिंग कमिटी, and subsequent to the drafting committee they came up with the constitution, and in this way the constitution prescribed for the election commission, and the election commission successfully conduct the election for the whole country. So election commission का कुछ काम जो है, फंक्शन है जो इलेक्शन करवाना, कंडक्ट करवाना, so all these are the functions of the election commission. हालांकि ज़रूरत नहीं आपका इलेक्शन कमीशन करता क्या है. बेसिकली इलेक्शन कमीशन दे यूज टू डिलिमिट द कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी, दे यूज टू कंडक्ट द इलेक्शन, they used to recognize the political parties, they used to frame the election code of conduct basically, which already we have discussed in the class 11 on the function of the election commission. हालांकि इस चैप्टर में हमें इतना ज़रूरत नहीं है basically, but yes, the most important question in this chapter is that कि what are the various challenges that the Indian election commission had faced in conducting the first election. So after the such kind of such a huge task, finally in 1952 election was held, and in that election Indian National Congress that emerged as victorious. And not only in 1952, again in 1957, again in 1962, in all these three elections Indian National Congress emerged as victorious. And this is what is the main theme of the chapter, is that era of one party dominance. So era, it is a particular time period. तो टाइम पीरियड कब से कब है, 1952 टू ले 1967, मतलब फर्स्ट थ्री जनरल इलेक्शन 1952, 1957, 1962. सो इन दिस थ्री जनरल इलेक्शन वन पार्टी बेसिकली द इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस, सो वन पार्टी डोमिनेंस, उनकी जो दबदबा था बेसिकली उसी के बारे में चैप्टर में पढ़ना है. सो वाई, व्हाट आर द फैक्टर्स रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर द डोमिनेंस ऑफ द इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस इन दिस थ्री जनरल इलेक्शन. So number one is that the legacy of the freedom struggle. Yes, the legacy of the freedom struggle. So Indian National Congress, which set up in 1885, initially it was set up as a pressure group to pressurize the British government in order to get the benefit to the Indians, in order to treat Indians equally, and subsequently it turned out to be a political party which took part in the election under the British rule and demanded an independent India out from the British rule. So basically the legacy of the freedom struggle helped the Indian National Congress to attract the voters at that point of time, because majority of the people, most of the people, they knew the Indian National Congress because it was the forerunner of the freedom movement during the British rule. Secondly, a wide organizational structure. Yes, the second important reason is that the wide organizational structure. Yes, it means that the Congress party had a wide membership. It had at that point of time a wide membership across the country, across the different religion, across the caste, across the ethnicity, across the linguistic group. The party had the membership. The grassroots memberships played a very significant role in exerting its dominance in the first three general election, because members, most of the people, common people, they knew the party, they were the member of the party. Even those members, they played a very crucial role at that point of time in expanding the party's popularity at that point of time. So the party, they were in edge at that point of time. Thirdly, another major reasons behind this party's dominance was the charismatic leadership. Yes, the charismatic leadership of the Congress party is also one of the major reasons behind the Congress dominance in the early phase or in the first general election, because the party had leadership, the leadership like the Jawaharlal Nehru, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, and many other leaders were there within the Congress party, which the other party, opposition party, lacked at that point of time. And this leadership played a very significant role, and those particular the leadership, they were the popular face during the British rule. And this is the reason that what happened, the common people were attracted towards those leaders, and subsequently they cast their vote in favor of the Congress party at that point of time. Fourthly, another major reasons behind the dominance of the Congress party is the system of FPTP. Yes, the system of first past the post FPTP played a very significant role in dominance of the Congress party. Why? Because the party secured more number of seats than what they secured the percentage of vote in the election. If you compare the first, second and third general election, you will find that in the first general election the party secured around 44% of vote. In the second election the party secured around 43% of vote, and the third election again the party secured around 41-2% of vote. So it means that the majority of the people, around 58, 56, 57% of the people, they were against the Congress party. But what happened, as it is FPTP system, fast past the post system, जिसको अगर एक भी वोट दूसरे से ज़्यादा मिला तो वो जीत जाएगा. तो ये चीज़ उनके लिए बहुत फ़ायदेमंद रहा, क्योंकि बिकॉज ऑफ द स्प्लिट ऑफ वोट अमंग द अदर पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज, the Congress they received the benefit at that point of time. The system of FPTP is also one of the reasons behind the dominance. Fifthly, the weak opposition political party. Yes, the opposition political party, most of the opposition political parties, they were newly formed at that point of time. Already we know that most of those political parties, they were just formed before the election of 1952. So they had no proper election or electoral knowledge at that point of time. They had no mass connection at that point of time. They had no election manifesto at that point of time. They just simply they take part in the election for seeking the part of the election. So the result was that though the opposition political parties were there in that particular election, but most of the opposition political parties are unknown to the common voter, and this is the reason that those opposition political parties, they could not able to challenge the Congress party at that point of time. And lastly, what I can say is that one of the major reason behind is that the Congress dominance in the first generation is that clear election manifesto of the Congress party, because the party already, it is the oldest political party in Asia. It was set up in 1885. It is the oldest political party in Asia. And the party already took part in the electoral process during the British rule, so they knew that the how to attract the voter. They knew that what are the demand of the Indians. They knew that how to make the Indians to attract with their agenda. So they had a clear agenda. They had a clear election manifesto. Election manifesto मतलब election में हम अगर जीतेंगे तो क्या क्या करेंगे. उनके पास vision था. They had a clear vision of the India at that point of time. And all these actually attracted the voter at that point of time, which the opposition political party completely lacked at that point of time. We can only compare the Communist Party at that point of time, but even the Communist Party was also lacked of such kind of a wide organizational base, such kind of a wide, the membership, wide election manifesto, because the Communist Party mainly emphasized on the development of the peasant and the workers, but the Congress Party had a vision of all the people, including the industrialists as well as those who are in the marginalized section. So this is the reason that the common people very much attracted towards the political party. So these are the certain common factors responsible for the Congress dominance in the first three general elections. So I hope that you understand. So this question is very important in exam point of view. So what we have discussed about is that the journey of democracy in India, the problems that is faced by the election commission and the successful conduct of the election, and thirdly the factors responsible for the Congress dominance in first three general elections. So these are the parts that we have covered. In the next class we will try to understand that nature of Congress dominance in the first three general election, and we'll also try to understand that what are the different the role of political parties, the other political parties, and their objectives and their play at that point of time. I hope that you understand. If you have any doubt in the comment section, you just let me know that. We will further clarify that out. Thank you so much.